Are we down on
6.
numbers?
Are we down? I think we got
Trending downwards
no.
already.
I think we got more numbers on Twitch than we did on YouTube. So more people watched on YouTube. You know we're streaming. Okay, and we're live. Hello and
Hi.
welcome
Hello.
to the
Hello.
Schmodcast or podcast or
Hello.
vodcast or
Hello.
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 We're so fucking stupid. Jesus Christ. So, how are you, Coldy?
I'm good. Well, other than hurting my hand,
You have to
I'm
tell me
good.
what happened because you haven't told me yet.
No, you did see a little sneak peek. I stabbed myself in the hand. Um,
Oh yeah, but you never told me how you did it. You just sent a picture of
no,
something, and it's like a pencil wound or something straight down your hand or something.
yeah, basically is what it is. Yeah, so it's like right down. So you know how the webbing of your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I stabbed a knife through that, down the way,
Why?
into my finger. What on purpose? I was making a sandwich. Well, I was making toast for
Like
breakfast.
this?
Let me finish my story, then you can rightfully mock me, right?
Right.
So
Go
I was
on.
making toast for Nicola, but to do that, we left a loaf in the freezer so it doesn't go out of date. So you can just take some bits out, put it in, make toast without the bread going out of date. But the slices of bread had like frozen together, so I had to separate them with a knife. So I'd put the knife in. I was holding the bread with this hand. I put the knife in between the slices of bread with this hand to pop it, but it went through too quickly and just went right through and just stabbed right into this hand that was holding the bread. So I cut right into my finger. It was like a 1.5 inch deep cut. I had to get 4 stitches on it. Like I went to the hospital. This was on Friday night. I went to the hospital Friday night. Got out at 1 in the morning. And being Friday night in Glasgow, they were like, "Yeah, that's a 7.5 hour wait." And I was like, "I'm not waiting 7.5 hours." So I went to ASDA, our sponsors for this week. And
Okay.
I went to Asda and I bought like a first aid kit to self heal myself.
Self
Woke up the
heal.
next Yeah,
Okay.
woke up the next day. I'd wrapped it all in all that. Woke up the next day, the whole bed was covered in blood. I took the bandage off and the wound was still gaping open. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to the hospital. So went to ER and yeah, got 4 stitches put in it and they bandaged it all up and that's me now. So I
Do you
might
think
have
you're
a
hard?
gammy. Well, I might have a gammy hand for the rest of my life because this webbing thing in between your fingers,
Yeah.
like because I basically cut that off, and then they've had to stitch together, like it might look a little bit funny. I don't know. We'll see when I heal. But yeah, that's what I did to my hand. Cut it off, making a sandwich.
Words.
Yeah.
Fucking
Any
words.
questions? I now open it up to questions. Is there any
On
questions
the
for me?
chat, all of no people are probably not replying anyway. But
Yeah, that's true.
like, okay. For no, one thing that we never do over here, we don't really freeze. Well, my family never froze bread.
No.
They, well, that's a lie. We'd freeze it, but then we'd take it all out in one go and then just throw it into the bread bin or whatever the fuck you call it, and
Yeah.
then it defrosts overnight, and then we just start eating it. We don't take a bit out. We're not we're not that fucking starved for food, there, Shawnee. Jesus Christ.
No, we have a fresh loaf for sandwiches, but we have a loaf in the freezer for making toast. I'm not insane. This is normal, right?
So you
Like,
have one bread. Are they both the same breads? Like the same type of bread?
yeah, yeah, they're both
So
Hovis
you're just
oatmeal loaves, seeded
right.
brand
So
sponsor again, Hovis.
but why don't you
Give us
just take
money
the one off the nice? Why don't you just save yourself some time? Like,
because you don't want to waste the fresh bread on toast when you're going to toast it anyway. So you if you go toast it, you might as well take the freezer bread and toast that.
but what happens if you don't eat all the fresh bread?
it goes in the freezer and becomes toaster bread after a certain point.
So you refreeze the bread?
No, like, so you have a frozen bread for toast, right? You have a
Yes!
fresh.
You buy 2
Yeah.
fucking loaves of bread, you put
No,
one in the...
you don't buy 2 loaves of bread.
You just
You,
said you had a bread in the freezer and a bread that's just normally in the kitchen.
oh my god, let me restart, right? So
Fucking
at some
please.
point at some point in your bread life cycle, you will have bread that is close to going out of date, right? Even if you never freeze bread, you have a bread that is close to going out of date. At
Okay.
this point, that bread becomes your freezer toast bread. To stop it going out of date, you wrap it up, you put it in the freezer, it's your toast bread. You buy a fresh loaf for your sandwiches. Now, if that fresh loaf starts to get close to out of date, you wrap that up and put it in the freezer for your toast.
So you have a freezer full of fucking toast now because it seems like a
No,
toast
because
bread.
you're using the freezer the bread that's already in there for toast. So you now have this life cycle of fresh bread for your sandwiches that becomes toast bread. You eat the toast bread when you're having toast. Your new fresh bread becomes your sandwich bread, and then the cycle continues forever. I don't understand why it's so hard for you to understand. I thought you were a
Why
scientist.
don't you just buy a fucking loaf of bread and eat it and toast it? Why are you putting all these extra processes in to fucking freezing it, taking out,
Because
toasting it? Like,
because if you waste food, you're a scumbag.
okay, we're gonna have to move on from this because it's actually getting me quite frustrated.
Like I'm logically in the
Do you
right
have
way.
a Do you have a bread bin?
No, I'm not my gran in the 1960s.
So where do you put your? You just put your bread in the fucking in the cupboard.
Yeah, you wrap it, you keep it in its bread
You
loaf.
you
You
take
wrap it
so
up with a
much
little thing.
consideration into this bread and toasting and freezing and saving and not letting fucking you go fucking hungry that you don't even have a bread bin.
Why would I have a bread bin? They're a completely
Because you take
obsolete
so much
product.
care at the freezing and toasting bread.
What is a bread bin doing for your bread?
It's
It's just
keeping it
somewhere to
safe.
sit it. No, safe from who? Who's stealing your bread that you need a bread bin?
Okay,
Netflix, he's
we're
coming in.
moving on. We're moving on. Let's talk about some fucking games for fuck's sake.
Oh yeah, welcome to the podcast where we sometimes
It's
talk
not
about
a podcast because we're not on iTunes. It's a
oh,
It's a show.
it's a show.
I'm telling you.
Welcome to
I
the
just
show
welcome to the show. We love
where
you.
we sometimes talk about games.
Yeah. It took us 20 minutes to start talking about games. We've talked about fucking toast getting frozen for the first fucking half hour.
My gammy hand. Don't forget my
Your
gammy
gammy
hand.
hand because you were trying to cut frozen bread to
Yeah.
put it in the toaster. So yeah, whatever.
Look,
Go on.
I accept that my solution is flawed in some
It's
ways,
actually
but
it's not flawed. It's just odd.
I think it's
Like
logical.
we would buy like 3 loaves of bread, right? Put 2 in the
Yeah.
freezer, keep 1, eat the 1. The minute the 1 was nearly gone, you take the freezer, one of the frozen loaves, put it out, it defrosts overnight. The next
So
morning, you finish off the bread you're about to finish, then you work on the new loaf.
what happens if that first loaf doesn't run? Comes close to its end date, and you've not used it, or you've only used like 4 slices because
It gets fed to the animals, the birds. That's where it gets fed. So the life cycle continues.
the life cycle of feeding bread to animals who die on bread.
Yes! Yes! Anyway,
Anyway,
welcome to the show, all
welcome.
0
Hi
people.
everyone.
We talk
Hi
about
everyone.
games.
No, we can't because we're not going to talk about games to begin with. We're going to talk about a game product.
Ooh,
Are we not?
we are.
Yeah.
We
So
are.
our news story this week, I believe, is the launch of the Steam
Yep.
Deck. Is it Deck?
It's the Steam Deck, and at the moment we're
Mate,
playing the Steam Deck
they're just
showcase.
asking for trouble calling it that, aren't they? The
Mm.
Steam Deck.
I keep calling it the Stream Deck.
Yeah.
I just keep constantly just calling it the Stream Deck. And look,
Yeah,
we both have Nintendo Switches, don't we?
we do. Yeah.
So because we have Nintendo Switches, what are our thoughts on this product? Do you
So
think? And we have PCs and Nintendo Switches, so we're kind of like the. We're probably not the main audience for this, are we? Do you think?
I think we are the main audience for this. I think the main audience for this is people who don't buy into the Nintendo zeitgeist, like the world of Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, PC gamers who want like I bought a Nintendo Switch because I wanted a handheld console that I could sit and play whilst Nicola was watching Love Island or whatever. Um,
Hint, hint, hint.
if this had come
Sponsors of
out,
this show.
if this had come out before before the Switch existed, I would have been on this in a heartbeat. I think it's a brilliant product.
Mm.
I think the idea of 450 quid for a handheld is obviously quite steep, but the fact that you get your full Steam library on that, I think is a brilliant deal. I think that it has Valve behind it. Now, I have read that people have been judgmental of how Valve have launched their own products historically. The Steam Link kind of didn't get much support, apparently. Although I think it has got support, it just wasn't very well marketed.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with
but
that. It
yeah,
wasn't marketed very well.
but the software is constantly even getting updated today on mine, so they do support it. I think the Steam controller again does get support. All the games that come out seem to come out with a Steam controller
In mind.
setup,
Mm.
setup, ready to loaded for it. I think the issue with the Steam controller is it's just a bit jank as a controller. Only having one
I've never
analog.
touched it, never had it in my hand or anything like that, so
Oh, it
I
sucks,
just hear
man.
the reviews, to be honest.
It sucks, and it sucks because I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. Um, and it has one analog on the left, so you've got your left thumb analog. Your right analog isn't an analog; it's like this touch tracky pad thing. So, like, if you're playing, say, The Binding of Isaac, for example, it's fine because you're moving with this, you're shooting with this. But if you're playing a first-person shooter where you're used to manually controlling the camera and looking around, it's awful. It just doesn't work. Um, but again, you can fault their engineers for design, but you can't fault the people who support the hardware that they bring out. And I
Mm.
think the VR headset is obviously the best headset on the market. It's just unfortunately the most expensive one as well. So I'm not going to drop £1,000 for a VR headset when I've already got one. So I think that they do support their hardware pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just generally their hardware has had little janky issues with it, or been marketed poorly. But looking at the Steam Deck, it literally is something that I would have wanted my whole life, basically. And I'm going to get one. I'm going to get the mid-range one.
Because I believe, is there three tiers?
There's three tiers,
There's
yeah.
like a
So there's
400, 480. Now, this is dollars, euros are kind of similar, I think. That's the price. It's like over 399. Then it's like, I think it's 480, and then it's 550 or something like that. But I think it's the difference is just the size, the space, I mean.
yeah, it's not just the space. I think the hardware that the the memory is a little bit better on the more expensive ones as well. I think they're using like just standard
Mm.
memory capacity and they're doing a little. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there is a little bit of a difference
Mm.
between the two. Let me just bring it up and see what the price is in the UK. So for the cheaper one, you're £349. Then the mid-range one, which is one I'm going to get, is £459. Yeah, so it's an SSD basically in the mid-range and top range, and it's not an SSD on the 3491.
Right.
So it is a little bit higher spec. 459 is the mid one, so that's £110 more, and then 569 for the top one, which is another
People might
£110 more
actually
again.
get through playing their entire Steam library one of these.
Yeah.
You know?
Obviously, there's question marks around it.
Oh yeah.
How many games can I actually functionally play? Like, is it only games that have controller support? Can I go in there and play Command and Conquer on it that doesn't have controller support? That's mouse and keyboard. Like,
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see, but it has two little track pads under each analog stick, and that is to help with any of the fine movements or something of the mouse. Kind of like I think that they were trying to do with the track pad on the left side. You were saying, wasn't it?
yeah,
Of the controller. I think the two pads are meant to work like mouse and a mouse and keyboard. But I haven't really looked too much into it because I think all the details are slowly but surely coming out. But the good thing they kept saying is it's just basically a PC.
yeah.
You know,
And that sounds.
tasty.
And I believe it's got plug and play, so like a
Yep.
Switch, you can just plug it into your TV,
Mm,
and away you go. You've got your full Steam library on your TV.
yeah.
So I think that they've created a really good product that targets the people who want to play their games like just casually on their couch from their PC or on the go
Mm.
from their PC, and don't have any interest in Nintendo whatsoever. I bought a Switch not because I care about the Nintendo products or the Nintendo IPs. Zelda a little, like I grew up playing some of the Zelda games, but I'm not overly passionate about them. Could give two shits about Pokemon, could give two shits about Smash Brothers and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the Nintendo branding doesn't appeal to me, but this does because it has everything that I want to play on it. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Yours?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Except I'm not sure I'm gonna pick this up. I'm a bit of a like I have my Switch. I don't play it as much as I should. Like soon enough, obviously, I'm kind of like in my sitting room in the apartment. But soon enough, when the house is here, I'll have my own gaming room, and I'll just go up when I want to relax into the gaming room and play on the PC. You know what I mean? And I have my
Yeah.
television as well. My other television, I'll hook the Nintendo up to that, play it with that. This like I want to say I'm not gonna get it, but maybe down the line I might pick it up. I'm always a
Pick it up
sucker
on
for what?
pick it up on a Steam sale in 2025 when it's £1 and they're trying to get rid of all the stock.
I actually think that this is gonna succeed. To be honest, sure. I believe what are the bookings, whatever the fuck it was, they're all sold out online. Saw
Yeah.
that in the news the other day. So,
I think the challenge that they'll have with it is for someone like you and I, it's a great value product because we have a Steam account already, we have a Steam library already.
mm,
When we buy that out the box for 400 quid, we've got hundreds of games that we can play on it.
or if you're
And
outshy,
no,
thousands.
or if you're Oshi, thousands apparently,
Yeah,
thousands.
thousands.
Um, but for the average consumer who just buys it thinking it's a console, they'll have no library on it, so they'll have to start building that library. And I'm buying a console for 450, 550 quid that has no games on it.
And yeah, and I think let's just say for younger adults like the kids, the Switch is going to be your go-to. I think it's more easy accessible. This is like you can turn it into a PC and like you probably can stream Netflix, do the whole shebang on this. You know what I mean?
I don't believe there's any unique IPs for it either. It's not like Sony with God of War and Final Fantasy VII
No,
remake and stuff that
no,
are only on that console, or Nintendo with all their IPs, or Xbox with do they have any IPs? I don't know.
don't
I'm
know.
sure the Gears of War, Halo, whatever. Um,
My
they
next,
all have IPs directly linked to them.
mm,
Steam isn't doesn't have an IP,
you wouldn't even
so there's
say Counter
nothing.
Strike. Like the only
No,
thing I could probably say is if they release TF2 and they say it's only on this, I'll be like, sign me the fuck up.
but isn't
TF3.
yeah, TF3. Because I was going to
Mm.
say, didn't Counter Strike and Team Fortress 2 and Portal and Half Life all come in the orange box it released for all the consoles, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
probably the best pound for pound products ever made. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. So it's not even like their own Valve IPs are unique to the platform anymore. So
Mm.
if they want it to succeed outside of people who already have a Steam account and are just buying a one-off charge for hardware that allows them to play it from their couch, if they want it to succeed as an actual console contender, they need to get some IPs on board. They need to release Half Life 3 and
I don't think it'll be
Mass
Half Life
Effect 2.
3. I think it's going to be some like Half Life Expedition or some shit. You know what I mean? It probably won't be number 3. They'll probably do something crazy like they did with the episodic content and VR. You know,
Yeah, Half Life Alex.
I think that will be something that they might
I
do.
can't play Half Life Alex. To. I didn't get very far into it. I got to this part where you're dropping down at a train station, and it just made me sick. Just gives
What?
me like it makes me sick. Like the movement in it, the controls in it with my VR headset on, just makes me sick.
Oh, you motion sickness, is it? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Okay.
I
I
can't
thought you were
do
talking
the
about like, oh, it's just too gross to look at or some shit.
no. I can't do the movement. I can do movement in VR like a racing game where I would be sitting and I'm sitting in the game and I would be sitting in real life and my brain doesn't confuse the two. It's like okay, you're technically sitting in a car or on a roller coaster or whatever. But games that you're walking in the game but you're just sitting still, my brain just goes crazy and can't handle it and just makes me feel motion
Mm,
sick.
gotcha. I gotcha.
But anyway, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So it's a
I
yay
did
from
pre-order it.
you and a bit of a yay from me.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
that's what it is. I think it's
because
gonna be, as I said, I think it's gonna be really popular. I think it's gonna sell well at the start, but I think we have to see how its competitors
it, yeah, it
respond
just
and
depends on their intentions in it. Is their intentions just to sell it to people who have a Steam account,
mm,
or are they trying to actually break into the console industry? Because if they're trying to break into consoles, they need some unique IPs in order to make it a must-have product that people can't just play the same game on their PlayStation or on their PC.
gotcha. All right,
All right.
all right.
My
So
name's Icy.
he's, when he's back, we'll show him all these. We will. We'll
Yeah,
we'll give him a
yeah,
shout
he'll
out
kick
again.
shit out of me, innit?
You're probably taller than him, but he's probably wider than you.
I'm taller than him, and he is wider than me.
Oh,
You
okay.
got both those things correct. When I came
Yeah.
up to Glasgow, oh my god, what an embarrassment I was that night. I got so drunk. But yeah, he's smaller than me and wider than me in
Okay.
every way you can imagine. Right, okay. What have you been playing, Kron? What have you been playing this week?
Oh, for me. So during the week, I finally finished The Wolf Among Us. Yeah, I was in the middle of playing The Wolf Among Us for the last probably 2 weeks on and off when I came home from work, and I have to say, it's the best Telltale game I've played. Even though I've only played like 4 of them, 4 or 5 of them, I think it's the best Telltale game by far. So far, because as I was saying before, I think The Wolf Among Us, for people who don't know, it's kind of like you're the detective trying to figure out these murders in this town, and like it's based on a comic book. But I think the Telltale gameplay suits kind of like detective work, kind of prying and going into a room and looking around, picking up things and all that. Whereas in the Walking Dead one was more about relationships and talking to people and not saying the wrong thing or else someone dies and all this type of crap. But overall, I was thoroughly happy with the outcome of the Among Us, and I look forward to Among Us Part Two, which the trailer dropped 3 months ago or 1 month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. So Telltale are coming back with The Wolf Among Us Part 2.
Do we know how Telltale are coming back? Like,
I'm
are
not
they
actually sure.
are they the same studio, or
I'm
is
n-
it just someone's bought the Telltale name?
I'm not entirely sure. I never looked into any of that. I'm just waiting for Wolf Among Us 2 to come out. Like
Is that the
it's
first one that they're launching?
yes, I believe it
That's
is.
good.
But let's hope to God they don't whore themselves out like they did before. You
They need
know.
they need to learn from those mistakes of the past. They need to stop buying every single license they
Mm.
could possibly do, and then kind of just throwing out games because I believe The Walking Dead was the first one.
Yeah.
Then they did Walking Dead episode 2. Then they did The Wolf Among Us. Um,
Yes, and then I think it was. I could be wrong. It could be Game of Thrones. Then it could have been the Batman's,
I think Game of Thrones, Batman,
Borderlands,
and Borderlands and Minecraft. Those were the four that kind of killed the
because they came out all in like the same year, I think, or something. Like,
yeah, and they
there's
just
two
obviously
Batmans now.
didn't.
There's two Batmans. I don't know how
Yep.
many Borderlands there are or Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they just didn't give it the time and attention that
No.
it needs to be a story-driven game. Yeah, I hope when they come back, they are good games again. I hope that the engine that they use has been updated because I think they've got as much from a gameplay standpoint as you could get out of that engine that they were using.
Mm.
They've hammered out about 40 games on it, so I mean, it's about time. It's like the fucking Elder Scrolls guys, Bethesda, they need a new engine, so I think it's quite similar to that. They've just made too many games on their engine, and they've got all they can out of it.
And the second game, other than playing obviously golf with the rest of us, the second game that I finished The Wolf Among Us. The second game I started to play is The Witcher 3
Oh, right, okay.
Wildlands because everyone was always harping on about it, and I bought it about 2 years ago on sale and played it for about 30 minutes and then got distracted by probably World of Warcraft or some shit like that. So I'm starting to play that now. And Force Impressions, it can be a bit daunting because like you can talk to fucking everyone or something. Like I'm getting distracted by walking by like a town and seeing this guy talk, this guy talk. I'm kind of just focused on the main storyline at the moment. I'm a couple of hours in, but I'm it has to grow on me. It's not hitting me in because I never played The Witcher 1 or 2. So
Yeah,
this one I'm not I feel I'm how can I put this? I'm like jumping into a world that I know nothing about and they're not really explaining it much to me. Like I know
yeah,
you're
that
supposed to
makes sense.
explore and all this type of stuff, but I feel like there's a lot of story. People are talking about this stuff that's already happened probably and talk there's probably characters I've probably already met that are fucking huge in the universe, but I just don't have a fucking clue who they are. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just feel like
Um,
I am stepping into part three of it, even though I think the Wildlands is like a prequel to the first two, or I don't
yeah,
even
you
know.
don't need to
I
be,
don't
you
even
don't
know.
need to have played the first two to play Witcher 3. It's one of those games that I would always say you need to have three. It takes three goes for you to get hooked on it.
This is
So
actually my
you
third go.
yeah.
Actually, my third
So
go.
your first time, it's daunting. You're like, oh, I can't be asked for this. I'll look at it another time.
Oh
You turn
Jesus
it on,
Christ!
you go,
Just hurry up and
oh,
tell
it's
me where the person
yeah,
is.
exactly. Then the second time, you're like, right, okay, I'm going to really give this a shot now, and you get through probably about an eighth of it, and then you go, something else distracts you or whatever. You're like, I can't be bothered with this just now. I'll come back to it another time. And then just randomly one day you'll have nothing to do. You'll be hungover as fuck. You'll be like, okay, I just want to play something. I can just sit down and switch my brain off. You fire it up, you play it for like 14 hours straight, and that's you hooked. It's just one of those games that for me takes a few tries, and when
Okay.
I did finally get into it, I got into it like literally every aspect of it. The card game, what was it, Gwent, like all of the hunting, the crafting, the storytelling. The DLCs are probably some of the best DLCs you'll ever see for a game.
Yeah, I
Um,
have the special edition where it's all the DMCs or whatever.
yeah. I think it's sorry, this I know this is your section, but I think it's one of the best role playing games as a world. Just I'm going to go live in this world for a month or two and just kind of get lost in it and just enjoy it. I think it's one of the best games in the world for that. Is my personal take on it.
Oh. So I have something good to look forward to if I stay with it.
Yeah,
Just
if you allow
once
yourself
people
to get
stop
invested,
telling me to go find their fucking friend or their relative or their goat or their fucking cow. Like, this is like, I'm looking for this woman, right? Then
yeah,
someone says, if you want to find her, find
Jennifer,
this man. Then I found this man. He goes, if you want me to find a woman, you find me wife. Go to try to find a wife. You find this man who tells you to find his go to find a woman. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Will all you. I feel like just like, if I was the Witcher, I'd be just like taking me sort of, fucking tell me where the fucking bitch is in the first place. Anyway, that's just me talking shit. It just,
yeah,
I
I
hope
think you
they
need
get a
to.
bit more, like, I don't know.
I would say you need to kind of. I know that you don't tabletop roleplay, neither do I.
Well,
But
I have in the
I think
past.
you do. I think you need to like just in your head just be like, what would I, as the Witcher, do in this scenario?
Cut the
I
fucker up! I'm a badass Witcher, no? Like with special powers and I fight monsters and shit. People should know who I am. Tell me, fucking whip out me silver sword or something and wave in front of their head and go, tell me where the bitch is now.
sure that's illegal, particularly on stream.
What? What?
Whipping out your silver sword and wiggling it around.
Fuck's sake. But yeah, anyway, that is what I am playing.
Cool. Um, I will go. Nothing too particularly exciting. Still playing Final Fantasy 14. Still loving every minute of it. I'm doing the Gold Saucer right now.
I see.
Let me just bring it up so you can see it. Um, so the Gold Saucer, like for a Final Fantasy fan, it is basically the Gold Saucer from Final Fantasy 7, the big theme park with all the mini games and everything like that, like you're seeing on screen just now.
Hmm.
Just play a bunch of different mini games and win points that you can spend on cosmetic gear, like I don't know, make yourself look like a pig or get a new motor mount or whatever. You can just win cosmetic stuff. That is what the Gold Saucer is for a Final Fantasy fan. If you're coming
Is
in,
that a festival type thing, is it? That only happens a
as I was
particular
going to
time of
say,
year?
so if you come from World of Warcraft, you would think of
Hmm.
it as like the
Darkmoon
uh,
Fair.
the Darkman Fair.
Getcha.
The difference being the Gold Saucer is on all the time. Again, like Blizzard like to do, they like to time gate you and restrict you from doing the fun things that you want to do. So they make it like one weekend a month or whatever the Darkmoon Fair is. Whereas in Final, they're just like, it's open all the time. You want to go play the mini games? Go play the mini games. Which, again, is another thing that Square seem to be getting right in the MMO world, where
Hmm.
Blizzard have just like completely lost sight and lost track of what the
Just
purpose of an MMO is.
just to jump on that, when you're talking about the Darkmoon Fair only coming and Blizzard trying to keep you fucking hooked into the game, do you think like the Darkmoon Fair would work better if it was in a particular place through Azeroth? Like every
Good
2 months they pack it up and fuck off, like like a circus, like a proper
That would
circus.
be fun if this month it's in Elwyn Forest, and then it doesn't turn off. But like one day it's in Elwyn Forest, the next day it's popped up and it's now in I don't know fucking
Darkshire, something like that. It kind of
Grizzly
moves its
Hills
way
or something.
around.
Yeah.
But then I would say like that brings up my discussion about flying mounts, because like you and your buddies can all get together in Stoneman and be like, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to go to the Dark Moon Fair and win loads of prizes and shit. Where do we gotta go? Oh, we gotta go here. So we gotta go on an adventure because we can't fucking fly there. We have to go to Dark. It's in fucking Dire Mall or some shit. Or whatever. Farless? I'm trying to regurgitate. We have to go to Farless. So we gotta fucking fly all the way down to Booty Bay and then fly blah, 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 blah. Like, make it an adventure to get
Yeah.
there instead of fucking teleporting straight to it. Or, as you say, it only comes every 2 months or whatever. Like, I don't really know because I never did much of the Dark Moon Fair. But
And that's what Blizzard got wrong, wasn't it? They focused convenience in the wrong places. They think that so back in the day when I first started playing my druid in World of Warcraft, there was a quest to become the swimming form, the seal, where you had to go to the absolute top of Kalimdor and click a thing, and then you had to go to all the way the south past Booty Bay of Eastern Kingdoms to
mm,
click the other thing. But there was no shortcut from one to the other, so you literally had to go on an adventure. You had to go to Darkshore. You had to get the boat from there to wetlands. You had to walk through the wetlands, up through the mountains, past Dunmora, the Loch Madan, down past all the towns, down past like Darkshire, and then down into the
Stranglethorn Vale.
Stranglethorn
The
Vale. You
best, the
had
best area ever. One of
and
the best areas ever in Vanilla
and I
WoW.
remember I kept getting killed in Stranglethorn Vale because it's a PvP area. And so, like, four people from the guild, I was like, oh, I keep getting killed here. I'm trying to go do my druid quest. And, like, four people from the guild come over and it started a war. Like, basically, I brought people, they brought more people, we brought more people to deal with their more people. Next thing you know, there's a big massive battle happening because one shitty level 15 druid wanted to go do his druid quest. And that created a story and created an event
That's what I'm
that was,
talking about. And if you
but
put in flying mounts, none of that happens.
none of that happens. And so Blizzard have said, right, okay, we want to make the game more convenient for you, but only convenient in the ways that they want. They want it to be convenient for you to go do the daily stuff and the stuff that they want you to do. They don't make it convenient in a fun way, and that is where they fundamentally got it wrong.
Mm,
Like, the convenience is only convenient as long as it's convenient to them. Um, the convenience of actually you can grind your rep if you want. You can do all of your renown or all your story stuff right now if this is the time that you have to play. That doesn't matter to them because they want you to log in tomorrow. Um, whereas final respects your time so much more. The
mm.
final is like, do you want to do it all today? Do it all today. Don't give a shit. As long as you come back when the new patch comes out and we've got more content for you, then go ahead and do what you want. Um,
Do
so yeah,
you...
sorry,
One?
I was going to say that derailed from talking about Gold Saucer to bitching about Blizzard and
I
World of
was just
Warcraft
about to
again.
ask you, do you think with the current state of WoW and the kind of the surge in Final Fantasy Online and like the amount of like there's even more streamers jumping ship to give the game a go. Do you think this could be... I think it's a wake up call for Blizzard, but do you think this would actually make any... How can I put it? Fucking any waves for Blizzard going forward? Or do you think they're going to do the same shit? Because as we know, there's been a truck ton of people leaving Blizzard.
Bean, that's the main issue you have is like they're stuck in their own bubble. Do you want them to look outside of their bubble and learn from other MMOs and try to be better? Yes, will they? I don't think so. I think that they still see themselves as the cornerstone for what an MMO is, and everyone should be looking at them on how to do things right. I
Mm,
think that I don't think there's any ill intent. I don't think they're trying to make a bad game. They're just ignorant to the world and just think we are right, you're wrong, you don't know what you want, we know what you want this. And then every single expansion we say no, we don't want that. And it takes them until the final patch before they fix everything. Um, and that's the kind of the main issue that they have with it. Do I think it will change anything? It depends on what comes next for Blizzard. this is a really important next step for them because they could, if they bring out the next expansion and it's brilliant, then I think all would be forgiven. All the people who went over to final would rush back, and we wouldn't see a massive impact. I think that they would be like, right, we got it right. Everyone came back. Everyone's playing World of Warcraft again, and it's fine. If they bring out an expansion and it's subtractive again, then I think that they're in a lot of trouble. And by subtractive, I mean that when an expansion should never be subtractive. When Final Fantasy comes out, they say, here's this new story, here's all this new content, but all of that old content from the previous expansions is still relevant. When Blizzard came out with a new expansion, everything that they had before no longer matters. So they subtract all of the existing content from the game and say, here is the only relevant stuff for the new game. So their expansion is subtractive in that it takes away content as well as adding new stuff. Whereas Final's like, we'll add new stuff, plus all that old stuff is still there and still relevant. And that is where Blizzard is going wrong. So if they do that again, yes, I think they're in trouble. I think that people are starting to get bored of the Warcraft engine as well. I think that they've pushed it as far as they can kind of push it for a 2003, 2002 engine, whatever it is. Um, and that does need a lift.
What
I think.
do you think might be able to save Blizzard? Just off the top of your head, like one type of maybe system or whatever.
I would say a cataclysmic event. Cataclysm, but not shit. Cataclysm was a nightmare. It was supposed to be this big event that destroyed the world, and it just meant like 4 zones got redesigned into different quests, basically. I think, and they've drawn too far out. They need to draw right into what makes Warcraft Warcraft. Orcs versus humans, the Defias Brotherhood, uh, the dragon aspects, all that sort of stuff is what makes Warcraft Warcraft.
Do you think there's a
Now
lot
that
of
it's
unwanted space in Azeroth? Unused space, sorry. Because that's one
um
thing I thought they never did. Like when you are in Stormwind and you fly up and you go, let's say, north, there is a fucking metric ton of space up in the mountains. Would you not create content there? Fill your world with stuff. I know that I just keep reiterating myself saying just get rid of flying mounts because there's no adventure anymore. There's no exploration. You're just going through the motions for each fucking expansion, in my
like
opinion.
if you look at what's on the Final Fantasy screen just now, this is just some assets that have made a jumping puzzle, and it's one of the most fun things that you can do. Is a jumping puzzle and final,
Mm.
and it's so quick and easy to do. Just make a jumping puzzle. Everyone will enjoy it. Everyone will have fun, but they won't create content that doesn't keep players engaged and keep the metrics up and keep people buying add-ons. They need a cataclysmic event. They need to start again. They need to draw back down to what it is that makes Warcraft Warcraft.
Mm.
When you've got 700 mounts, adding the 701st mount isn't anything. Nobody gives a shit. Uh, draw like they need to take. I want the jailer to win effectively. I would like to see the jailer win, reset the whole world, and restart again. Um, People say, "Oh, that would never happen. People would lose all their progress and stuff." But Final did it. Final found a way to write it into the narrative and make it interesting and exciting, and the people who
So
were
one
there
of the
thought, "Oh,
bosses
holy shit,
actually
I was
won
there
in
when the
Final
world
Fantasy.
ended."
Did they?
Yes, Bahamut destroyed in 1.0, but 1.3 or whatever it was. Bahamut destroyed the whole world. Your character got straight up deleted, and then 2.0 or Realm Reborn came out, and you recreated your character, and they wrote it into the narrative that it
Was
was
that
5 years ago.
Sorry to jump in again. Was that because remember when it first released? This is just me because I know nothing about Final Fantasy. When that was when it is that when it first released? Remember, it didn't do so well, and then they remade the game, and I think they call it Reborn. Is that what
Yes,
am I right?
yeah, yeah. Basically, I'll give
That's
you
even
the
far better. That is
yeah,
than what I originally thought was. Listening to you
yeah,
saying that they reset it, but they also added it into the story.
there's
of
this
the
really
reset. It
cool.
wasn't just a reset in the story, like that's how it came. The game was failing. They needed to redo the game itself, the actual game itself. I'll
Yeah,
get you. That's
there is
dope.
this. There's this really cool video here that you can probably hopefully see on my screen right now. That is the end of Final Fantasy 14 1.3 or
Spoilers.
whatever it was.
Spoilers for everyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, you can't even play one, so there's no spoilers to
Oh,
talk about here.
you can't
But
play the original thing, no?
no, you can't play it. It's gone. This
Does
is
it give
so
you a little
what happened.
story of what happened though? Like we
Yeah,
made a
so
shit game, we remade the game.
see if you look at my screen right now. Basically,
Yeah.
this is the players in the game in the first version of Final Fantasy 14, and this moon in the sky, this sun thing in the sky, you can see basically meteor. Um, over the course of 4 or 5 months, just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they announced the launch of 2.0 and was like, no, actually, this meteor is going to hit the world and it's going to kill all you. Um, so all of the people who were still playing the game, I don't think there was that many. I think a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand, whatever it
Mm.
was, who were still playing the game, logged on to see this big fuck off thing in the sky. And then eventually, and this is the last moments of the game, at the same time on the server, they basically rammed that meteor into the world, and then they showed this cutscene for anyone still logged into the world, which was the meteor hitting the planet, blowing everything up, killing everyone. Your character gets teleported 5 years into the future to save their life. And then when you logged in the next day, you were logged into Final Fantasy 2.0, A Realm Reborn, and the story starts with your character 5 years in the future from when this calamity happened. And it was like, no, we're deleting everything that came before and we're starting again and we're writing it into the story. So when you turn on A Realm Reborn 2.0, you start 5 years after this world ending event of 1.0. And it's really, really cool. Like, and all of the players who were logged in when this happened, they get their names in the credits at the end of A Realm Reborn. Their names are actually in the credits at the end of the story because they were there for it. They were a part of when the meteor hit the world. That's what WoW needs. It needs a fable. It needs a story to be told. That's like, were you there when that happened? When they like just killed everyone and made
Would
you
they
all
say,
start
would they
again?
not say the gates when the gates opened? No?
Like the gates of Anchorage, you mean?
No, the gates of the dark portal, the Burning Crusade.
All right, yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, it needs an event like that that can never happen again. But like this is how we
No, I agree with, yeah,
update
I know what you
games.
mean. Yeah, that like an event that never is never going to happen again.
Yeah, a one-off
You're
event of people like, were you
you're
there when
selling it to
X
me, man.
happened?
You're selling it to me. I
But,
luckily enough, I'm fucking saving up for a house. Well, I have the house, but still, I don't want to save money.
but yeah, if I show you, let's jump forward a little bit. Uh, that is all the main characters from the game. They all get teleported 5 years into the future, and then when you start Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn, you create your character. You're 5 years in the future. That's him teleporting you away, just as the world's about to end. It's properly, it's
But he stays
so well
behind, does
done.
he?
He stays behind, so
Ah,
he's now the fabled old man in 2.0 that sacrificed himself to save you all. Um,
he's like that
and yeah,
Calgar, whatever the fuck he's called.
yeah,
That's dope.
but
So
yeah,
the first game is called Final Fantasy Online, yeah. The second one is
mm-hmm.
actually Reborn, but you
A
can't
Realm
play the
Reborn,
first
yeah,
game. You play Reborn, and then there's like a thing called Shadow something.
Shadowlands, yeah.
No,
So
fucking Shadow something. Shadowlands is WoW. No, Bringers,
Shadowbringer,
Bringer,
yeah, yeah.
and
So
okay.
you've got 2.0, which is A Realm Reborn. It's the
Yep.
conclusion of that end of the world event from 1.0. Like it plays through that whole story, how that happened, how to stop it from happening again, all that sort of stuff. Then 2.0 is Heaven's Ward. 3.0 is Heaven's Ward, which is the first expansion,
Heaven's
and that's
Ward.
yeah, and that's all about dragon aspects and stuff like that. And then Stormblood is the next expansion, which is about the war with the Gallian Empire. Then you've got Shadowbringers, which I can't tell you what the story is because it's too spoiler heavy to even explain what the story is. It comes from the original from 1.0, leads right up to Shadowbringers, and now this next expansion, Endwalker, is the end of the story. The developers are like, we're not going to do a Warcraft, we're not going to do, oh, here's the next big bad of this story. They're basically like, we are ending the story as you currently know it at the end of Endwalker, and that we don't know what that means. We don't know what that means for the
The
MMO.
game.
Does that mean that they do another event where you start back at the beginning again to kind of keep things? I don't know. We don't know what their plans are, but they're saying the end of Endwalker is the end of this storyline as far as you know it. It's done. The war with the Asians and the Gallians is over by the end of this, and we
Like,
don't know what that means.
from
So we'll
listening
find
to
out.
you, from listening to what you were saying about reborn and restarting from blah 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 blah, I wouldn't put it past them to do that, because don't they do that technically in every Final Fantasy game?
Exactly.
You know,
They might just be like, we've now finished this story. We now move. Does that mean that they
we now
say
finish
Final
this
Fantasy?
world type of thing. You
Yeah,
know, the way everyone's on fucking Terra, or in a different game is called Gaia and all this bollocks.
yeah.
They could be going to futuristic. I don't know, fucking. You know, but listening to the stuff, because I never knew that. I knew there was a thing called Realm Reborn, but I thought it was because the game was shit. I thought the
Which
game didn't. Well, not shit, but it just
no,
wasn't what
no,
they
it was shit.
wanted. Was
It
it?
was shit, and yeah, it was shit. And they basically what they done is instead of just leaving it, which Blizzard would do and say, "Oh, we'll release an expansion and that'll fix everything," they basically said, "We will write a narrative that allows us to tell a story
About how
that
shit the game
fits
was.
about how that we will fix the
That's
game
dope.
through story."
You think you
Um,
don't, but you
yeah, but
do.
that's Blizzard. Yeah, do you guys not have phones? That would have been Blizzard's answer.
Oh man, Jesus Christ. That
Anyway, sorry, that's another big discussion we had about final. Everybody was sick
Listen, we'll
hearing me talk
probably
about it.
jump into that again. I know we've been talking about Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft a lot
Yeah.
since
The,
we started this show, but it's in it needs to be said, you know. But that
yeah.
stuff, I'll admit, you're selling it to me. Like, I do, like, I loved WoW. I love playing WoW. I love being part of a team and going exploring and all that. I loved exploring. I don't know much about Final Fantasy. Do I explore? Is the story good? Is the story well told? Like, what is the one thing that lets Final Fantasy down? Probably for a person like me.
Um. Well, if you want PvP, don't play Final Fantasy.
Don't
But I
care for
would argue
PvP. Don't care for
if you,
PvP.
yeah, I would argue if you want to play PvP, don't play any MMO for PvP. Play a PvP game for PvP would be my advice. Um. That's really my thing.
Overwatch. Get the band back
Um.
together.
I would say that as well. The world does feel quite contained because it's not an open world, it's individual maps of each area.
Okay.
So
Is it
if
like
you're
kind of
looking for
like
a
Guild
big,
Wars? Maybe, no?
exactly like Guild Wars, yeah, where you go from one zone to the next zone, you just walk through, you get a loading screen, you're in the next zone.
And is there a lot to kind of like Easter eggs to find in these maps? Like in Guild Wars, you kind of had to find all these jumping puzzles and these vistas and these points of interest, and you had kind of like a completion list to do, which I loved. I love That's one thing I loved about Guild Wars, was that type of mechanic that they put in. Is that they're like, you the more you discover, the more free shit you can get. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, there is all that. There's
And there's no
sightseeing
PvP in the
vistas
world
and
itself, is it? Because everyone's working
there's
together against the
no,
enemy in it or something.
yeah, there's no PvP in the world at all.
Me and my Italian hands. No PvP,
There is no PvP.
Go on, sorry. Tutta la
Yeah,
frutta.
there's no world PvP. Which is good. Gets rid of all the griefers and shit like that, and just leaves you to play the game and enjoy it at your
It
own
has
pace.
its place. It has its place. Don't get me wrong. We talked about Stranglehold and Vale earlier. We were really happy
Yeah,
with, the stories that came out of that, or fighting in Ashenvale.
Yeah,
Kind of like
and
the.
let's be clear here.
Let's be
That
clear.
that is a fun thing to remember. It's not a fun
Yes.
thing to experience. When you're just trying to get to do your
Yeah,
fucking
but you're
quest
the
and stuff,
fucker
that's it.
who had this bad stuff happen to you. It always has the bad stuff always has to happen for someone for the good stuff to come. And you were
Yeah,
unfortunately the bad person that happened. Like for us, for me, it was our friend Jazz. He was going through Stranglethorn Vale getting ganked. So he asked the rest of us, I'm transmitting in your hair again. You have to fix your headphones. But he asked us to there we go. He asked us to come down, so he got all of us in our level 60s to go to Stranglethorn Vale, and then the Horde got all their level 60s, and then there was like I'd say close to 40 to 50 people fighting around that arena. Like that's how it started
yeah,
for us. That's how one of the fights started for us. But so there always has to be some shit for stuff to happen. Like that's why they say the shit has hit the fan. But this is all
but that is the
great.
problem with Blizzard though, is they're so obsessed with controlling everything that if they don't want you to have a world event where you just with your mates go start a war, you're not going to get to, because Blizzard needs to control the narrative and they need to control that. Like they're so obsessed with you're not allowed to be overpowered unless we say so. You're not allowed to do this unless we say so. These are they're so obsessed with making sure that everything's on track for their metrics. They forget that they're making a game, and they're making a game that
Mm.
people want to go in and have fun with, and that is the fundamental issue.
And have experiences. Like it got to
Yeah,
such a shit point for me that I went and I did RP. Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
that's a different kind of a different show for a different time, but it's still one of the most fondest happy times
Yeah,
I've
the
played
last two
playing
games that
well.
I was playing this week. So on my Oculus headset, I downloaded a game called Jetborne Racing,
Yeah.
um, which is basically just like think jets and wipeout style gameplay in a VR headset, which is just
Jet
the
Set
game.
Radio.
No, it's just called Jetborne Racing. So you're basically just a pilot in a jet. On the screen, if you can see it just now, what you see is on the kind of bottom right hand corner, and what the person watching you on the screen sees is the main screen.
Okay.
Basically, you're flying a jet and you're racing through these tunnels in a jet. I think the core gameplay is really good for a VR headset. You do feel like you're flying a jet. It's a lot of fun. Um, the issue with it is it's early access, and like any early access, there's not a lot of content there. There's no
Okay.
AI to race against. It's either set time limit speeds against yourself or race online against other people. There's no other real modes. There's no story or
Is it like
career
a
mode or anything
multiplayer?
like
Like
that.
when you, would you see the other planes, or is it just race against time against other
Yeah,
people?
you see the other planes. I don't think you can hit them. I don't think there's any collision. Not that I've tried, because I think I would be sick if I had a VR headset on and crashed my jet. But um, yeah, it's the core gameplay's fun. I just hope that they add to it. I
There we
spent
go.
about an
Yeah,
hour and a
I
half
see.
in it, and then was like, right, okay, that's enough, until they actually add some content. Um, but the base game is fun. It's if you've got a VR headset, it's probably the best racing game, like from a fundamental mechanic standpoint, that I've played with a VR headset on. So it's got a lot going for it. It just needs some time in the oven, I think. So yeah, that's kind of it for Jetborne Racing. It's an okay game. And the last thing that we played to this week was a bit of Fall Guys, which I don't know about you, but I had a lot of fun. We've spoken about this before, but I like Fall Guys mainly because I'm good at it. It's like a it's like a 2-3 button game. You don't need any more than that.
We
But
might have to
because
have
of
a
that,
full on stream where I try and win.
yeah, we need to have a full on stream where you try and win. We should do that on Thursday. But I just think it's a lot of fun. I
It
think that
is. I think it is. It's a great game. The only thing that pisses me off is that you can't have more than four in your group. And I know we don't have four friends. We do have fucking four friends. And if we had fucking 5 spots, I'm pretty sure we'd fill them up with people.
I
I
think
just
the main issue the game has and what it needs to do to evolve is if you die, there's nothing for you to do but watch. Like if a true like battle royale, like if I don't want to sit and die on the first round and watch you play for the next 20 minutes and not actually be able to play, there should be some sort of mechanics for the people who are no longer alive in the game. Yeah, they can't win, but they can, I don't know, be in control of the balls that are coming down the hill or
that's all I was gonna say. Do you like think like let's just say we take do you know the one that you're always good at, the
the
fucking
seesaw.
the seesaw ones. Like if some
Yeah.
people die and the next level is seesaw, do you think we can have people on either side, like their character is physically there and they're jumping on pedals to turn them or something? Like, you know?
Anything like that, yeah. I think anything that would make the game engaging for and don't get me wrong, people who are just solo queued will drop out when they lose. But it's for people like me, you, and Irish and that who are playing it, and then we die, and then we've got nothing else to do. Maybe
Hmm.
like we know who you are, so we try to swing it in your favour a little bit and try and fuck up everyone else. But then they've got three mates who are also trying to do the same for their teammate. And then the more people you've got alive from your squad of four, the less likely you are to get through the round because everyone's going to be fucking with these.
Hmm.
There's opportunities there to make it
There
engaging for
is.
people who've already went out. They just
You could
all you
also
do right
like
now is
I
you
don't
just
want to
watch
say
someone else.
if this would work or not, but you could also have kind of like a nearly a respawn level. You know, let's just say if me and you're knocked out and Irish is still in, and he's on this level, and if he completes it at a certain time, one of us get to come back or something.
Yeah, or
Like,
roulette it so that if sorry,
oh my god,
if one of yous goes out, maybe the next round it just does a random wheel and picks one of yous to go
mm.
next, so that you're like I'm out, but I've still got a chance to
We
have a
still
shot.
haven't played the squad version of this anyway. We just kind of
Yeah,
jump
we still
in.
not
We've
played the
always
squad
played
version.
the
This could all be in that, to be fair. So we'll
yeah.
see.
we're
Yeah,
just giving
that's
out
it.
about it,
Fall
and
Guys. Yeah, that's everything that I've played this week. Nothing overly exciting.
okay, that's pretty good. We hit on a lot of different things. However, I think one
Is there
thing,
anything that you want to close with? Have we got any questions? Anything that you want to chat
well,
about, or
there's
are we
nobody
done for
watching
the day?
us because nobody watches the show. We never say when we're live. We never say when we're going, what day it is. We don't tell anyone. Maybe
Yeah,
next,
I'll
maybe
put it
next
out on
week
Twitter.
I'll put it out, and
I'll
also I'll
put it out on
spam a
Twitter
couple
as
of
well.
people, and we'll do like a Q&A thing where you just ask us questions, and they're just saying which one he is the gay one, all of this type of stuff. So the next
Well,
thing
it's
I
always
would,
the Irish guy, is it not?
but the next
Stephen
thing,
Gately.
Stephen King,
Is he not
God
gay?
bless him. What?
But that's not fair because all of them are Irish, so just one of them being gay default makes the
Jesus,
Irish one gay.
Jesus Christ, that's a bit harsh. But the next thing I would say probably is it is coming up to a release date of New World.
New World. Yeah, I'm not gonna play it.
You're not gonna play it, but yet you have it listed on your wish list.
What?
Don't you have it wish listed?
Yeah, just to track it. But I've been watching Asmon play it a little bit, and I'm like,
What do you
Right.
feel? It's kind of. I feel it's gone a bit more PvP than most ones. I
it's
haven't
very
tracked a lot of it, but PvP seems to be where this is kind of gearing towards. So this,
yeah, it looks and feels very Guild Wars 2 to me, to be honest. Which I
yeah.
know would appeal to you, but it doesn't really appeal to me.
Mm.
Um, so I'll keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll give it a shot if enough people say it's good. But
Is there a subscription? I don't know much about
I
this
don't
game.
know the whole. I don't
No,
know much about the model or the pricing or whatever. Um,
that's why I'm terrified to play Final Fantasy because it's what €15 or something to play.
well, it's free up until level 60, so you can play all of A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward completely free.
What?
There's no limitations on it
What?
whatsoever. Yep, for as long as you want. So it's really cool because there's actually these two concurrent communities that happen in
How
Final
do we bring
Fantasy.
this game back to Final Fantasy? Holy shit.
I know.
Go on.
But yeah, you have the people who pay,
Yeah.
and they're playing the current content, Shadow Bringer,
Bringer, yeah.
and they're going through all that content. But you have this cool little micro free to play community that are always two expansions behind, and basically like WoW Classic or WoW Burn the Crusade, they just stick to that and they play all the content in that, and they never pay for the game. They just sit and they're happy to do all of the content from 3-4 years ago and get
Wow.
it for free, and that's really cool. And when Endbringers comes out, Endwalker comes out, they'll be able to play the Stormblood stuff for free. And it's like
Does
this
that
little
instantly go free when the new expansion comes out?
yes,
Is that an actual thing now?
yes. So you'll always be two expansions behind, free of charge. You can play
That's
the game as
madness.
much as you want.
That is
Whereas WoW was like,
madness.
you can only get to level 20, mate, and then you need to give us money. It's like,
It's kind of just shitting all over WoW. Like, WoW, like, we can't even give it any pros at the moment. It's a
um,
game.
yeah,
You're
no, I
even
can't.
struggling right now. You can't even think of something.
No, and this is coming from someone who's poured like
Yeah.
3 years of slash played into World of Warcraft since 2003. I can't really think of anything overly
Redeeming.
positive to say
Yeah.
about it right now. I think that the gameplay is poor. It's too time gated. It's too prescriptive. Like you will do what we tell you, which is the exact opposite purpose of an MMO.
What keeps
Um,
people, let's just say, high people who have no lives, right? We
mm,
know loads of them. People who have no lives and they love playing these MMOs. Let's just say they play well and they raid every week, blah, 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 blah. What is the thing that keeps people playing Final Fantasy?
it has in-game raiding. It has dungeon content. It has
But what is the main thing that keeps people going in Final Fantasy?
uh, I'm not that far into endgame enough to really say, but what keeps me playing is that there's more to do than just doing dungeons and raids. It's got all of your alt stuff. So, do you know how alts work in Final Fantasy?
I'm only familiar with alts in WoW.
So the way an alt works is you are one character in Final Fantasy. You are that one character. If you want to be a new class, you just equip the weapon of that class and start leveling that class and start doing that class's story. So you, as one character, can be all of the classes in the game. Um,
Is there separate stories for each class?
yes, yeah,
Like,
there's
to be
separate
different
stories,
cutscenes, different.
different cutscenes, completely different stories. One of them, I think, is like a whodunit story. Whereas like I think it's the Astrologian or something is like a whodunit little adventure you go on to go through the story all the way from the beginning all the way up to level 80, which is the Shadowbringer stuff. It's just one big story. The
Hmm.
Dragoon one is all about dragons and taming dragons and hunting, and you go a big dragon adventure with the Dragoon. Uh, the Black Mage one is all about dark magic and the dangers of dark magic, and you go on an adventure to try and stop this door to the dark realm opening up and all that. They all have their own individual stories. But what's really cool is you can play them all through in your one character. You can be like, right, okay, I've had enough of Black Mage this week. I'm going to switch over to White Mage, and you still feel like you've
Whoa, whoa,
progressed in
whoa,
the
whoa!
same
You just said
character.
Black Mage and White Mage. Are they a different class, or are they like a
Yeah,
different branch
White
in
Mage
the
is a
Mage class?
no. White Mage is a healer. There's White Mage, Black Mage, Red Mage, and Blue Mage. Black Mage is black magic damage dealing, like Ultima and Comet and all that sort of stuff.
How many classes are there then? How many
Um,
storyline? Like, I'm coming at this
there's
from a WoW perspective, where there's a warrior, paladin, mage, right?
yes,
So you're
but
telling me, go on,
what you have to bear in mind that there is a lot more in Final. I think there's about I'm going to say about 15 to 20 um,
20 what? Stop
classes.
leaving me on cliffhangers here. I'm interested in this game.
But what you have to bear in mind is with WoW, if you're a warrior, you can be a Fury warrior or an Arms warrior or a Prot warrior. There
Yeah.
is just warrior in Final, so you don't get multiple specs of each class. You're that
There's
class.
no such thing as specs. You're just a
There's,
class.
you're just the class. Yeah. and where you get good. So wall, you're good at wall if you know your rotation and you know how to be the the best spec. You know how to spec properly. You know your rotation. You've got the best gear, and you can execute your rotation properly. That makes you good at wall for raiding and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With final, because there's no specs and gear matters, but not to the extent of in WoW. What makes you good at final is you knowing the mechanics. Because there's no add-ons, there's no in final you can't download DBM and it tells you exactly what to do with each boss fight.
What?
You have to.
There's no add-ons.
There's no add-ons.
Oh my god,
You
that's amazing. That's one
so
thing I
you
always wanted in WoW was just not using add-ons because I fucking hate all that shit.
yeah. So if you want to be good at final, you need to learn the strategies for the bosses, and that's what makes you good at them.
So there's no
Because they'll
DPS
tell.
meter. Is there a
There's
DPS
no
meter?
DPS meter. There's no DPS meter. There's no.
And this is on Steam now, yeah?
This is on Steam, free until level
Free.
60. Um, yeah, so
Wow.
it has all that, and you can, as I say, just play through in any class in any order. You can just switch them as at will. Like they
Are
all have
some
their own
classes
individual.
hidden behind the certain expansions, yeah? You know what
Yeah,
I
there
mean?
is some hidden behind some of the expansions,
Oh,
but
okay.
um, I think it's only the Dancer and the Gunbreaker, which is Squall from Final Fantasy VIII Gunblade cat class. Um, and the Dancer are behind Stormblood, I believe. The Heavensward one's the Dark Knight, which is now free, obviously, so you can be a Dark Knight. The Ninja, I think, is free as well.
And with
Um,
these, sorry, because I'm just really interested right now. You probably saw it on me. I'm probably going to download it tonight. But these classes that you're talking about, like Gunblade or whatever the fuck, Dark Knight, they're in
yeah.
different expansions, right? So you go from 1 to 60. Does the expansion bring you from 60 to 120, or what does it do? Or do you, you know?
So the base game is 1 to 50. So Realm Reborn is 1 to 50. You play through the main story that closes off the story of the end of the world in the first version of the game. So that's 1 to 50. You can play almost all of the classes, maybe minus 4 or 5 of them through
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Once you reach 50, you get to Heavensward expansion, and that by starting the Heavensward storyline, just picking up the first quest in the Heavensward storyline, you can now go be the Dark Knight and get the Dark Knight class and unlock that and play that and start your adventure from them if you want to. If you want to switch your main class to that,
So,
then
yeah, go on.
that's 50 to 60 is Heavensward.
Yep.
60 to 70 is Stormblood.
Okay.
And you can do the same with the Dancer and I want to say the Ninja
So they start
as well.
from when you start as a dancer. He starts at 60 to 70. He doesn't start from
He
a
starts
one.
he starts at 50. So the
Right.
Dark Knight that you unlock at level 50 starts at level 30. So
Okay.
you've still got 20 levels to catch up.
Just in case the storyline, as I've been saying, you're saying like white mage or whatever starts from 1 to 50, and there's a big long storyline if I want to change the blue
Yeah.
mage or whatever. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you will
That's good. I just thought there was going to be loads of content, as in you're going to start a Black Knight, whatever the fuck he is, from level 1 all the way to 60, 70, whatever the
so
cap
you'll
was.
start them from 30, but bear in mind that doesn't mean you get less story. You still need to play through the story content for the Dark Knight
Yeah, but I'm
every.
just saying he wouldn't start off at level 1 going through the story. He starts
No.
at level 30. But does that mean he
Yeah.
kills everything real easily? Or is it just, it's paced differently?
No,
I'm trying to word
because
it. I'm lost for words right
because
now.
you're one character, you can't play through the main story multiple times. You
Yeah,
don't get to. So the only story you can play through as a Dark Knight is the Dark Knight specific story.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So so
I
you
get
play
you.
through that, and it'll be tailored to you start at level 30. So the first quest of the Dark Knight story will be a level 30 quest that you pick up and you go through. Um, and that is how the game makes all of the old content relevant as well. Because if you switch to a Dark Knight, the easiest way for you to level is to do your leveling roulettes, which is basically your leveling dungeons. And you can queue that with a level 70 or a level 80, and they get the equivalent of like badges of honor and stuff that you get in WoW. Like remember the old tokens that you could trade in for gear?
Yep.
If they do a leveling roulette, even though they're max level, they get those tokens instead. So they still queue for leveling stuff and help you still do all the old content, and they scale down to your level. So if you're a level 80 Dark Knight, for example, and you've got every single ability a Dark Knight can have, and you go into a dungeon and it's a level 10 dungeon, it scales you back to as though you were level 10.
Like
And
Guild
you'll
Wars.
only, like Guild Wars, yeah. And what's really cool is that means that you need to, all of your old rotations, the old expansions and stuff are still relevant. So you still need to remember those rotations for when you go into those roulettes at those levels. It's like it's like the equivalent of WoW right now. You were a paladin, right? It's the equivalent of you going into like if you go into a time walking dungeon just now, you just your stats scale down, but you have all your abilities. But what if you went into you're playing Shadowlands on your paladin, and you went into a Burning Crusade dungeon, and you had your Burning Crusade abilities and your Burning Crusade rotations, and you had to remember that. You had to remember how you played a paladin in Burning Crusade. That's what Final Fantasy does. It says you want to do this dungeon that's from 3 expansions ago. I hope you remember how to play your rotation 3 expansions ago, because that is what you'll have,
Hmm.
and it's really really cool, and it keeps all of that content relevant.
It
It's
just
not
changes up the
subtracted.
rewards, does it? Is that the main
Yeah,
thing it does?
yeah, it changes the rewards, and you'll normally not do a leveling dungeon on a max level character, because they're so beneficial for you leveling. If you queue into a leveling dungeon, you'll do it with one of the other 30 classes that you need to level, and do it that way. So there's always people queuing for them. But if you were to go into it as your max level character, you will get token rewards that you can trade in for like cosmetic gear and stuff like that, or even end game gear. Um, or
Is
you
it?
can do what I do. I save them up so that when like I've got a max level dragoon, when I do a dungeon with them, I save up all the tokens that I get. Then when I'm playing through as my black mage, I just go to the vendor and spend those tokens on black mage gear, and then I'm a really well geared black mage, even though I've not really done any content on it. Like, so it's
Gotcha.
really really friendly with stuff like that.
Oh, okay. And my final question on this game that I'm probably going to download is it kind of like adventure friendly? Is it, or are you flying around the map like in WoW?
No, you're not flying around the map. You
How do
do
you
you do
traverse in Final Fantasy? What is the like a fucking chocobo picks you up and flies you over here, or like griffins
No,
and shit, or what?
there is no griffins. You can teleport, but you can only teleport to main hubs. And then if you want to go out into the world, you have to walk out into the world and actually do content. It is not a game where you'll feel like you're just going from one hub to the next. And unless you just want to do gold saucer or something, you don't actually want to go out and do the content. They've got these things up called levies and stuff like that, which basically takes you out into the world, and you need to physically travel there. It has all that about it. I think that if you're looking for a world that feels lived in and feels real, then it's got that. Plus, it has housing. You buy a house and you're on your level. What you can buy in any zone. You can say, I want to have a house in uh, Gradania, or I want to have a
Let's
house in the
just for the sake of me, because I'm part stupid, kind of talk like you're talking in WoW. Like, I want to buy a house that's in Stonewind or Ironforge. Is that what we're
yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, so if you want to buy a house that's in Stormwind, or a house that's in Ironforge, or a house that's in
Darnassus,
Orgrimmar,
rest in peace.
Darnassus, you houses go up for sale, right? It's really hard to
Ah!
get one because there's a limited number of houses, and if
Can people
someone
see my
stays
house in the flesh? Is this a real thing?
and if people log out for 90 days or something like that, I think it
They
is, they
lose their
lose their
house?
house. They lose their house. And then their house goes up for sale, which gives someone else a chance to buy their house. But what's really cool about housing is it's persistent, and that see when
Can I
if
sell my house to someone
you can, yeah,
for like one
um,
gold? Like, give them it for cheap as chips.
Yeah.
Just so
Why?
they keep it, because I'm like, I'm going away on holidays. I'm not going to be here for 90 days. Sell you the house. You sell it back to me.
Yeah. But what's really cool is it like you get your town version of that. Your house is in one of the towns in that hub,
Okay.
and your neighbours will always be your neighbours. The other houses around you have got like you'll have a
That's
guy who's the big
dope.
rich one, and he will always be the guy in that big house unless he loses his house and someone else buys it. So when you buy your house, you get to teleport to your estate. It's called, and there's like 500 houses in this estate, and it's the same 500 people, and you all become a community in this estate, and you can go into each other's houses and see how they've decorated it, and like have conversations with it. And oh, this guy's at has got like a
Sold.
summoning.
Sold. Sold. Fucking sold. You know, I loved Wildstar. I loved the housing in that.
Mhm.
There was lots of problems with it, but that's one thing I really loved with Wildstar. I loved the game itself and the story and blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm interested in this
But what it does
community.
is it starts to create these worlds where like because Larius in that play final as well, they'll be like, "Holy shit, a house in my estate's just come up for sale. You have to come get now, get it before someone else." But because you all want to be on the same estate as a community,
Can you
it'll be
transfer
like,
servers for free?
um, I don't know. I don't know if you can,
Oh, it's a
but
deal
we're on the
breaker.
same server
Don't want
anyway.
to spend any money. I don't want to spend any money on this game, Coley. You hook me by saying it's free for the
Why?
first two
Why you
patch
want to
thing.
transfer servers when you don't have a character yet?
Because I'm gonna get a character. I'm gonna level her up. Him, not her. I'm gonna buy a house, but I want to be in the same estate as you, and I want to do some
Well,
knickknacks.
you don't need to be in the same server to be on the same estate.
Do you know? Okay,
No. So the estates are almost like separate little mini servers on their own where you teleport to your estate and it's just a little world with everyone there
getcha.
that's on
That's
your
dope.
estate.
That's really cool. I'm sold. I'm definitely gonna have to download it and give it a go. I'm on holidays at the end of the week. I will be away, but I'll have some time to play some Final Fantasy probably.
All I would say is just be aware there's a lot of story for you to play through. So if you don't like story in your MMO, it's not for
Is it
you
voice
because
acted?
it's voice acted for about 40% of it. It switches between voice acting and just
Is it told
text.
better than WoW?
100%. Because what I've noticed is wall tells you the story in a wall of text on a quest. Well, you click on a quest, there's a big wall of text, and you go, oh, fuck it, I'm not reading that, and you just click accept. Whereas Final tells its story in cutscenes with one line of text at a time, so it's much more edible to just read a line of text at a time than it is to just get a wall of text in a quest
Getcha.
that you can just click accept to get rid of. So you
Okay.
won't have any issues with the storytelling. It just depends on whether you want to be told a story or not.
No, I usually kind of do. And hello everyone in the chat. Sorry, we've just been too busy talking about. Well, Colley's been too
forgot,
busy selling me Final Fantasy Online
I
because I see
forgot we were even
everyone and their
streaming.
grandmother's playing it at the moment except me. But I think that could be it. I'm not sure if we touched on all the points we kind of talked about at the start. We got through
Yeah,
everything.
got through the Steam talk. We got through what we were playing.
Then we went off on an hour and a half tangent of
An
Final
hour and a
Fantasy.
half tangent about Final Fantasy again. So I'm sorry for anyone who had to sit through that and listen to me
No, that
gush
was all
over
for
it.
me. That was all for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what the future holds with New World, Final Fantasy 7 online. Well, the MMO genre, I fingers crossed, is gonna get an injection of
It's evolving
something.
for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
that's one thing I really hope. I really do hope.
Yeah,
I'm
it is evolving.
excited.
And it'll be interesting to see where it is in 2 years' time to see if Final is still, I think, at the top right now, if that's still at the top, or if WoW has come out with an expansion that's brought it back on track. I
Mm,
doubt it, but I'm open to it trying and seeing what it comes up with. But yeah, it'll
sure,
be very interesting to see.
it will be. And if
I'm
we'll
looking
just
forward to us playing Back for Blood in a couple of weeks as well, innit? That's like end of August, beginning of September, is it not?
October.
Hmm?
October 12th.
Or is it October? So a
Yeah.
couple of months. Yeah, that'll be fun as well. I'm
October
looking forward
is
to
going
that.
to be the gaming month of the year. The best gaming
Oh, it
month of the
needs
year.
it. It's fucking dire right now. There's nothing out
It
there.
is a fucking snooze fest. Not
Yeah.
because I'm watching Doctor Disrespect, but Jesus Christ, it's a snooze fest right now out there. So we have Back for Blood to look forward to on October 12th, and then 10 days later, the big boy drops Battlefield 2042. I think that's going to be a huge one for everyone. Like
Yeah, I'm looking
streamers,
forward to that.
everything. I think it's going to be good.
I think as long as they keep the cheaters out, that'll be a very good
No
game.
Punk
That has always
Buster,
been
so we can
Battlefield's
get our
issue.
squad together, please. Dice, please.
But
Just
in
once.
reality, that has always been Battlefield's issues. Cheating.
They
Like
can't
it's
have Punk Bust in this one, can they? Or is that a thing these days?
no, it's not a thing anymore. But
Good.
it does need to do something about cheating because
Yeah.
cheaters have always, in my opinion, plagued the Battlefield games and made
I
them
just don't
unplayable
understand
a
how
lot of the time.
cheating happens in a game these days. I just don't understand. Like the minute code gets changed, just ban them. I don't know. Like I'm not fucking smart and code savvy or whatever, but I just when I just hear about the game is hacked, I just how can a company just let people fucking change their code or whatever it is, however the fucking things are.
No idea.
Anyway,
Topic
another
for next week. Cheaters.
yeah, write it
How we
down.
deal with
I'm
them.
not gonna remember that. Monday. We won't have one next week. We might have to bust it out on a Sunday.
Why? What's next week?
I'm going away.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
Just for everyone out there, I'll be doing a staycation technically. So I am in the county of Kildare in Ireland. I'll be going to the most northern county in Ireland, which is
In
like
the real Ireland or Republic of
it's
Ireland?
the real Ireland, and all of it is the real Ireland, Coldy. You fucking asshole. Right? Northern England. You know? But yeah, it'll be good. It's kind of like one of those cabins, and it's basically staying on a farm. No internet, probably no electricity, that type of shit. But
That
living
sounds
on the
fun.
coast. Yeah, we like doing all that. It's going to be good, but
Cool.
we'll see if we can get bust one out for all you ladies on a Sunday.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what
enjoy.
both of us are doing.
Have a good week, and I will see you and everyone at
We'll
some
see
point
you
soon.
on the next Angry Joe show. No?
We'll see you
I
on
think-
the next very mildly pissed off Cron and Coldy show.
Yeah, the Cron and
That what?
Coldy show.
Is that-
We
is
might
that-
have to change it because it's not a podcast. It's not a vodcast. It's not a. It's
It's-
just a cast.
It's just a cast. A cast.
It's
of
just a
plonkers.
cast.
Yeah.
A cast of plunkers. That sounds like a
There's the
fucking
goal.
D&D group or something. Anyway,
Anyway,
we're gonna love
bye,
you and
everyone.
leave you.
It's fun.
Peace. Are we? Yeah. Stopped. Stop recording.
we
There we go.
stopped?
I think we stopped.
Thank God, because my throat's killing me.
I was.